Hi, everyone. We are continuing our coronavirus series, and we are talking to small business owners all over, talking to ethical, fair trade businesses. But today we're talking to a sustainable travel business. We're talking to Christine from Lotus Sojourns. So I'm going to pull her on. And we're going to talk about how coronavirus is affecting, obviously, the travel industry and everything that's going on, her business specifically. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I've never done this. I'm so excited it actually worked.
Not too challenging, right? We figured it
out. Got it.
So could you introduce yourself and your business to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Christine Winebrenner Irick, and I founded Lotus Sojourns, which is a transformational and adventure travel company for women. And we celebrated our 1-year anniversary about the middle of March. So
awesome. And you not just do like transformation retreats and everything, but you also pull in a sustainability piece into what you do as well, correct?
Yeah, I do. My background is in sustainable tourism and responsible tourism. So that is a strong component to each of our trips. I work specifically with operators in rural communities that adhere to sustainable tourism practices and try to minimize our environmental and cultural impact in the destinations that we're in.
That's amazing. I love that. So did you have any trips planned like now or in the near future?
I did. I was supposed to be headed to Peru on the 30th of May, and then to Guatemala at the end of June. And I also have a trip planned to Guatemala in November, but I'm not sure where that one's going to land right now.
So the other two are you already canceled them?
I did, yeah. I had to cancel those trips. The one in July maybe could happen, but it's hard to gauge. But it's a mother and daughter trip, and I felt like that would be really putting parents in an uncomfortable situation to take that risk, and so I just decided that was for the best for our community.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the one in November, it's still like we just don't know what's going to happen. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Have you heard through your traveling resources or, any theories on how long they think travel bans are going to be or that kind of thing?
No, it's kind of all over the place as far as bans, and then also just in terms of traveler recovery for the amount of that fear that is going to be attached to travel, and the level of comfort for travelers to return to exploring. I think that it looks like the trend will be towards domestic travel increasing before international travel will be increasing. So that definitely kind of shifts gears for a lot of people when they're looking at how to forecast this time frame.
Yeah, definitely. Would you ever do a domestic trip instead?
Yeah, so I was actually headed out to research a Southwest trip when this all started, and that was the very first thing I had to cancel was my research trip. That was my family spring break trip. So I am looking at that. I'm looking at a few places in Montana, and I'm looking at some places in Washington, and those will all be responsible tourism destinations that still bring in the components of connecting to nature and offering a place for you to connect to yourself and have those transformative experiences.
That's so awesome. I can't wait to see what that looks like. I've seen a lot of your travels, obviously, and even seen some of your posts of Montana. And I've never really necessarily wanted to go to Montana, but ever since like you've shown me some really cool stuff, it looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what else you come up with. How do you predict that what do you predict traveling will look like once this is all over?
Again, it's really hard to say, but within the segment of the industry that I work in, which is more focused on adventure travel, nature-based travel, responsible travel, that is already inherently small groups in rural and less inhabited areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, in my opinion, that's what people will be seeking when this is over, is to travel in a much more purposeful and intentional way. They're not going to risk it just for like sun and fun. I think they're going to be really looking for something that they want to get out of the experience. And then also, like I said, just kind of being in smaller groups, being out of bigger cities, being more in nature where it feels like it's a safer place to be and to explore.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Um, I know that you have 3 little girls at home and you're all quarantining and everything else. How are you and your family staying positive during all of this?
Well, I would love to say that we are always staying positive, but we surely aren't. But we're doing our best, just like everybody. We're just trying to create days that still feel balanced, and not, I see us still trying to really fill our days, and that's when things start to get a little out of balance. So trying to just be mindful of how we're like creating our space in our days, and I'm just getting to like spend more time with each other, and having like my kids working in my office, and sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, and sometimes it's really great to see like my little one doing a Lego, project while I'm working on something else, and things that I don't normally get to enjoy, or getting to see them do their schoolwork has been one of my favorite parts of this experience. While it is maddening, it is also like great to see how much they know. I don't get to see that normally. Like that just happens in their classroom. So that's been kind of a gift to get to see them be students.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of good things coming out of this, like a lot of people have like terrible commutes and actually don't get to spend as much time with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a blessing that they have this quality time that maybe they wouldn't have normally. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, it can be challenging. I'm not saying that it's not.
Yeah.
But I still think that there's some good that comes out of it as well.
Yeah, no, I think there's a room for a lot of good to come out of it. It's just looking at things in a different way.
Yeah, it's a lot of perspective, and I think it takes a little bit, to get used to this new normal, and that takes some time.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get used to that, we can find some good in it too. So, how can our viewers and listeners support you and your business right now?
Well, with the shutdown of the travel portion of my company, I've really been focusing on community, and that's been a really nice shift for me, because I'm in this startup period. I've been focusing on the travel, but my intention had always been to create a global community of women connected and supporting each other and sharing space with each other in a really authentic and vulnerable way. And this is like the perfect container for that to happen in. So I created an online community on Facebook called the Lotus Sojourns Collective, and we've been offering daily virtual gatherings at 3:33 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So let's welcome anybody who wants to join that and get a better understanding of Lotus Sojourns and what it means from the community side. And then also, I'm doing kind of like these micro experiences of what you would experience on a trip. And so it would give you a little bit of a better understanding of what some of this personal development work, or some of the yoga and meditation components, and also just talking about my travel experiences and sharing and inviting people in as much as I can. And then just yesterday, I had the notion of creating some sort of podcast, webcast, something. I don't know what that will be yet. But the intention for that is to kind of shine a spotlight on all of these very intentional, responsible travel groups and organizations, and make more people aware that that's what is out there and exists, so that when people kind of land back on their feet and they're ready to connect with each other in the world, they know who can offer them those types of experiences. So I'm just starting to craft that, and hopefully it will be born into the world in the next couple of weeks. So
I love it. So exciting. I think a big thing with travel and what kind of stunts people sometimes is is that they don't know where to look. You know, there's so many options that could go anywhere in the world, and there's all these adventures, and you know, and it's like having like one resource where you could be sustainable, you can go on these cool adventures, you can get personal development, would be really cool.
Yeah.
And so you said for the group, just so our listeners and followers know, it's Lotus Sojourns Collective. They can just search that in Facebook, and then it'll be a public group they can join.
Yeah, and if they don't see it, I haven't tried to search it that way, they can also just go to Lotus Sojourns on Facebook and see it there too. So either way, they should be able to funnel into it.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So do you have any last strategies for our travel friends out there that are really itching to go out? Like anything that they can be doing right now to get that itch filled?
Well, I mean, one of the things that actually I find for myself really works, and other people, just planning a trip and thinking about a trip without maybe even intending ever going on it is really helpful, and it like kind of fulfills that need. Like maybe planning some trip that is so far reaching right now, might as well be, that you can just like sink your mind and your heart into. And then a lot of tour operators are actually offering virtual travel experiences right now. Cool. So you can kind of you can experience things that maybe you wouldn't normally go because it's outside of your comfort zone or your financial ability. So there are a lot of opportunities for some unique virtual travel experiences too.
That's awesome. I know because we are focusing on sustainability, and we have a few minutes left, could you talk about what that means, ecotourism, and how you're tying in sustainability to that a little bit?
Yeah, so a lot of the terms, similarly in any area, I guess, eco and green and responsible, they all kind of bleed together in some ways, but the basic principles are, sorry, my phone's slipping all over the place, are kind of leaving any place better than you found it, being conscious of how you are impacting the land and the people, and just always the way that you can have the most responsible impact when traveling is to typically partner with, travel with, eat at, sleep at local businesses, so that money is actually staying in the community where it has a stronger chance of bettering people's lives. The more you can do that, that's a really easy way to be sustainable. And then, for instance, my company, we have followed the I haven't talked like a travel person in a while. I can't think of it right now, but anyway, we don't use any I'm just
quarantine's like, getting to all of us.
It is. We use no single-use plastics on our trips, and that is another thing. When we traveled to Bali together, obviously, like we saw at a huge level the impact that would make if people just stopped using that when they travel. And I think that's becoming a lot easier to do. I use like a portable filter water bottle or a Steri pen, and like just being mindful of the toiletries that I'm taking and things like that just add to the sustainability, and staying at properties that don't distribute toiletries and allow you not to have to always wash your linens. Like there's all these little components that add up. And then also, just when you're traveling, if there's any way you can support any local agencies or nonprofits or organizations. With Lotus Sojourns, we always connect with local artisan groups, and one, it gives you a really immediate, authentic connection to the community because you're seeing handcraft skills, you're meeting people that are really living the way that you live in that country. But then when you support them, that money again is going right into their communities and kind of have much greater impact. So that's like a snapshot of sustainability and responsible tourism, like on a super little snapshot. But I think those are like the really easily digestible tips, I guess.
Yeah, and it takes in so much. So it's like, you know, like you said, there's so many legs and different components to it. I think that was a perfect snapshot for our listeners of what you guys are focusing on at Lotus Sojourns. How are you finding all of these amazing facilities and hotels and everything else that you get to work with?
So I'm a member of several organizations that are that support that mindset of travel: the Adventure Travel Trade Association, the Transformational Travel Council, and there's other there's Sustainable Travel International. That all kind of vet different segments of the travel industry for hotels and restaurants and tour guides and things like that. So I kind of I rely on them for their resources and the connections that they already have. And then I also just look if there's a specific community that I want to go to and see who's working in that area and then who's supporting them. And it's really interesting. There's often a way that tourism ties into that. In Peru, I work with a company that is a nonprofit travel company that supports, or is a for-profit travel company, but they use their funds to support a nonprofit that provides healthcare to people in rural communities in Peru. So my travel directly impacts that community. And so I kind of try to work that way too.
Awesome. That's so cool. So this is just a little funny thing I was just thinking about as before we wrap up. I listened to like 10 minutes of affirmations in the morning that I recorded of myself, and it's like, you know, I'm so grateful for this, or, you know, things that I hope to happen in the future. And one of them is, I'm so grateful that I went on a Lotus Sojourns trip, because I'm hoping to one day join you on one of your trips. But yeah, I thought I'd just add that in there.
Oh, thank you.
I hope, like I said, I hope to join you one day. I'm really excited. I love what you're doing. And thank you for joining us today. This was so fun. And I love chatting with you.
Thank you. I know I'm like something we do occasionally, but not necessarily in front of other people. So that's a fun twist. Yeah. Thank you so much. I've loved following the Fairlosophy podcast and how you guys are spotlighting on a lot of things that are really important to me in terms of, you know, sustainability and fashion and in many other areas of my life, like making that a more whole picture for as many ways as we can have that impact, and then seeing how they all tie together is really amazing. So it's fun to be here and be a part of that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Christine. Like we said, we'll have everyone go to Lotus Sojourns Collective to join the group, and then follow you on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date on your future trips. And talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.